Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and somebody who has been a huge fan of Marvel for many years and following Marvel closely these last few months. But as of these recent years, it's impossible to be a fan of Marvel because they've changed what it means to be a superhero. They certainly changed what the Marvel brand stands for. It stands for nothing related to what Marvel was and could ever have been when any of us started reading comics back in the day. And even if you just became a Marvel fan from the films when they first started coming out through Marvel Phase 1, you know that what they're doing now has no relation to reality. The most recent movie, Ant-Man and The Wasp Quantumania, which was supposed to be Ant-Man 3, is really a terrible movie. And Comics Beat is a website run by Heidi McDonald. It has some interesting articles in it, but it does tend towards the pro-inclusion, diversity, let's change characters and superheroes as much as possible to incorporate them into this whole new view of what Disney is doing. Even she can't defend some of the choices in the movie. She does defend the movie to some extent. She tries to give it some credit for what they were trying to do, but she also makes a good point here about why are all of these characters existing in this movie together? What are their character arcs? What are their purposes? Why is the Wasp even in this movie? And it's interesting, she's just saying, well, it's not a good movie and it happens sometimes. But what it comes down to is, no, it's because it's a paint by numbers garbage production process. There isn't a concern for the story. There is an understanding of, okay, we have to introduce Kang. So because we have to introduce Kang, his performance is what really matters. Now, as far as the story goes, we'll sort of try to work things around it. But the only character that really got any attention and any focus of any importance was Kang. But of course, you had to have Michelle Pfeiffer in there as well, who is beautiful, but she's in her 60s. She's not a superhero. You can't turn her into a Marvel superhero. There's not much you can do to do that. She can have some little interesting role, but the movie is supposed to be Ant-Man. It's not Kang the Conqueror. It's not Ant-Man's girlfriend, the Wasp or whatever. It's not supposed to be his daughter or Henry Pym loves ants. It's supposed to be the character of Ant-Man. So let's go ahead and get into this article from The Beat. Quantumphobia, Marvel's Phase 5 is going great. Quantumania is the first Marvel Universe movie people are apologizing for. Before we get into the rest of it, please be sure you subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications, and give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. We all knew it was inevitable that the MCU, for the last decade, the hottest franchise on planet Earth, would eventually cool down. The ups, No Way Home, and downs, Eternals, of Phase 4 and the realities of post-pandemic entertainment left Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania very vulnerable to the vagaries of moviegoers despite this outing's crucial nature to the Phase 5 narrative. The introduction of Big Bad Kang, played by excellent and compelling Jonathan Majors, who I'm going to say he was fine, he was adequate. He wasn't excellent, he just wasn't horrendous. He was okay. Is supposed to set up years of stories, so the timing was crucial. And by the way, how do you know that Jonathan Majors was just okay and he wasn't excellent? When an actor gives an excellent performance, it really resonates with you. It inspires you and it makes you think. Does Kang make you think about anything? Let me know in the comments below. Other than, why didn't they just make a movie called Kang the Conqueror? Because they could have done that. And they had Jonathan Majors. But this was not an excellent performance by any stretch of the imagination. Opening weekend was big, the third best opening ever for President's Day weekend. The success was, despite a critical drubbing, only 48% on Rotten Tomatoes, only the second MCU movie to be certified rotten. Eternals was the other, undeserved in her opinion. Eternals was horrendous. The audience score of 83% was far more in line with typical MCU outings. However, although superhero films are known to have a big drop in the second week, Ant-Man 3 had a huge 69% plummet and was thrashed by Cocaine Bear. I mean, Cocaine Bear will thrash everything, but still, the $32 million second week total was deemed a total collapse by the trades like Deadline, Hollywood Reporter, and has spawned endless takes, such as hers and mine, on whether the MCU is circling the drain or not. The MCU is dead. When she's talking about superhero movies having a big drop in the second week, what superhero movies are you talking about? When you make movies like Wakanda Forever, where you've got not even Black Panther in the movie, you don't have a sequel of that character. You have the world and the family and a bunch of very nice ladies that are sort of related to the world of Black Panther. That's not a superhero movie. That's a discussion of the world of the character. That's like a background making of type of story. It's not a superhero sequel. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Disney's doing this again now with Peter Pan. This is from Cosmic Book News. Peter Pan and Wendy. It can't be Peter Pan because you're focusing, first of all, on a male character, but secondly, on a single character. You can't really do that. Now, I guess with The Little Mermaid, they have a single character, a remade live-action version, race-swapped character. Okay, fine, whatever. And that's a single character. But most of these movies are at least two characters. Thor, Love and Thunder, he's running around with his girlfriend. What are they doing? When you make a superhero movie, it's not supposed to be the superhero and his aunt, who is also a hero, like they did in No Way Home, which was a pretty good movie. But one of the things that really stood out for me, I don't know if you noticed it or not, is Aunt May as a character is supposed to be a supporting character from his normal life, not like a superhero that fights alongside him and dies heroically. That's not the place for that character. And nothing against Aunt May, and nothing against Michelle Pfeiffer. They are not superheroes. They do not belong in the middle of superhero action. Do I need to explain this? Do you agree with me? Has anyone else noticed this? Because it doesn't really seem like something that should be part of superheroes. It's fine to be inclusive. But for example, if you go out with your friends on a Friday night and go do something like with your adult friends, you don't bring along 3-year-olds and you don't bring along 90-year-olds. They don't belong there. Not every setting is appropriate for every person and every character, as Heidi said. Let's be real though, it will take more than one shoddy Ant-Man movie to halt the Marvel juggernaut, but even Kevin Feige is aware that pumping out a lot of content over a short period is not the way forward. The Marvels, the team-up starring Brie Larson's Captain Marvel and Iman Vellani's Ms. Marvel, has been pushed back to November 10th from a summer release. Disney's Haunted Mansion is taking the spot. Now, what Heidi probably doesn't understand is that that's not Kevin Feige's decision. That's coming from Bob Iger, and it's also coming from finance, because they are losing a lot of money on their Marvel production, and it's become completely overt. Even Disney management has admitted, hey, we have massive quality problems here. We can't handle the stuff that we're putting out. People are complaining as of Phase 4. Openly complaining. Not us fans who actually care about and love Marvel Comics. People who are just normies are complaining like, well, this doesn't look right. What's the problem with the CGI with She-Hulk? Things like that. So they had to push the production back. There are also multiple finance-related reasons because Disney was profiting on selling itself its own content. That's very complicated, and I need to do a whole video just about that. It's going to take a lot of time to do the research. However, credible rumors are circulating that another reason the movie was pushed back is to have more time to work on the visual effects, which, if Quantumania is any indication, is a very wise move. Quantumania just wasn't a good movie. It nearly managed to make Paul Rudd charmless because he's a white guy, so they just had to make him a narcissistic idiot throughout the whole movie. Something previously only theoretical, like Cold Fusion. The characterization was non-existent. Why was the Wasp even in the movie? And Heidi gets my respect for this question, because no one else even asks it, even though it's obvious. What are you doing with all of these ancillary characters having major parts in the story? She had nothing to do and no character arc, something even Evangeline Lilly hinted at in interviews. Glenn Weldon at NPR had hilarious summation of the characters. But as depicted here, Scott's entire personality, the whole of his character, is defined as this. I love my daughter Cassie. Where's Cassie? What have you done with Cassie? Douglas is Hank Pym. I like ants. Pfeiffer's Janet. I have secrets I refuse to divulge for no reasons I can point to. Newton's Cassie. I am every teen ever depicted in popular culture. Lily's Hope. Nothing. In theory, moviegoers could put up with this weak sauce if the movie looked cool, but it didn't. Not only was MODOK a horrifying disaster, but the inevitable third-act CGI fight fest was even lighter on physical things that looked like they were happening in real space than usual. And this was no accident. Marvel's visual effects artists have been complaining about overwork for a while. According to Vulture, work on Quantumania suffered because more resources were being given to Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I wonder why that was. The Black Panther franchise is MCU's most socially important character. Oh, that's why. And the tragedy of Chadwick Boseman's death and the serious themes of colonization and grief certainly deserved a lot of attention. Quantumania's more lighthearted Star Wars cantina scene vibe suffered. Also, can I ask you a question? Like, if you watched Quantumania, why do every one of these fantasy settings look like Star Wars? Black Panther 1, it looked like Star Wars. Ant-Man Quantumania, they're in the quantum realm, it looks like Star Wars. Everything just looks like Star Wars. Quantumania's more lighthearted Star Wars cantina scene vibe suffered. 3 visual effects artists interviewed had mostly critical things to say about how the movie was made. A viewing of the finished product does nothing to refute these accusations. A lot of frantic jumping around against a swirly background that is just NASA space photos blown up and run through Procreate. Enganet has a similar report on Ant-Man 3's visual effects woes. Making big pivots late in the game has consequences, and there's a constant scramble from the visual effects houses to keep up. Their visual effects management, their whole production management of all of this processes, and I've done a few videos talking about this here and there, I don't want to repeat myself, It is horrendous, it's inexcusable, it's ridiculous. Clearly, there is literally no one that actually cares about the content at Marvel. Even Ant-Man 3 director Peyton Reed noted that the Volume, a projection system shooting for non-existent environments that is increasingly used on Marvel and Star Wars projects, worked better on The Mandalorian, which he also directed because they had more time. And you also have to question, why are they utilizing TV production talent for all of their theatrical releases? Don't they produce the theatrical films at a different scale, at a different level than their TV shows? Because it doesn't seem so. And you could notice the writing from Ant-Man Quantumania. It just looks like there are individual characters forced together in some kind of paint-by-numbers constrained situation. So you could blame the writer because he's not that good, but what does he know? He just got a paid job to work on a Marvel movie. He wrote 6 episodes of Rick and Morty, and he used to write for Jimmy Kimmel. Okay, sure, I'll do a Marvel movie. When a film director is admitting that a TV show has more time to get things done properly, something is seriously out of whack. Luckily, the powers that be at the MCU seem to have noticed this, hence pushing back the Marvels and tapping the brakes on TV and streaming schedule. No, pushing back the brakes on the Marvels is not going to change the woke nature of the content. But even beyond the woke stuff, and it is a very big deal because they've destroyed what it means to be a superhero. They just keep reinventing it because they think it's socially appropriate to include everyone literally and their grandmother and their aunts in superhero action. You know, if you want to make a super aunt or a super grandmother or something like that, you've got to give them at least special power. It can't just be Michelle Pfeiffer is running around. Now she's super powerful and she can kill people and fight physically on her own because she was in the quantum realm, so she trained how to be a ninja or something. It just doesn't make any sense. Or again, Aunt May is a superhero doing these physical things. Like, she doesn't have special powers. Peter Parker has special powers. He's able to do these things. Don't let them reinvent what superheroes is because it makes no sense. It's not often that overworked craftspeople complaining that their work is being compromised by tight deadlines and last-minute changes are listened to, but if that's the case, kudos to the decision makers. Look, nothing's ever going to top Infinity War and Endgame. See, these people just give up. Like, we can't make anything great. It's like, well, you can make something much better than Infinity War and Endgame. Because when anyone makes anything truly great, they're always standing on the shoulders of giants. It's an old expression. So when something great has come before us, we can always do better than that because the thing that was great should be the baseline. Now you stand on those shoulders, you create something that was that good, now figure out how to make it better. The problem is they can't figure out how to make it better because the focus is not on making anything better. The focus is let's redefine everything, let's change everything to get it to the point where we can include children, we can include grandmothers, have them fight Thanos. None of that makes any sense. It makes literally no sense. How could Michelle Pfeiffer, for example, have survived in the quantum realm? How? She's just some lady running around somewhere. She doesn't know where she is. They don't seem like they're all that nice necessarily in the quantum realm. There is literally no excuse for why you can't build something great, except that you just don't want to. You don't want Western civilization style stories that are focused on a single character. Male, female, really doesn't actually matter. Going through the hero's journey, pursuing their quest, fighting odds, fighting obstacles in a meritorious way, being brave, self-sacrificing like a hero to try to accomplish something. And God forbid they should tell stories like that. They do not want to inspire individuals. And that's why every time Marvel does a movie, they have to have this group cast of other characters. It's not just to introduce other characters. It's to try to diminish the individual, which is part of the evils of the whole woke concept. Be an individual and don't let these guys rewrite history. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. I really appreciate your comments. I love to see them. I will see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.